All right, welcome back to my YouTube channel and podcast, Wonders and Miracles, where we get to celebrate miraculous moments in everyday lives. I'm your host, Liza Lawrence, and I'm so happy to have you join me today as we talk with Gina from Chicago, Illinois. In 2018, Gina was diagnosed with stage 4 adrenal cancer. Now, this is a 1 in a million cancer that has a 10% survival rate. She was told that chemo would not work, but here she is 6 years later with no active cancer cells in her body. Congratulations on that. Truly, it's a miracle. I'm excited to hear all of the details of her experience that she'll share with us today. But before we jump into this episode, I would like to once again highlight my favorite gratitude journal, The Blessings I Witnessed Today. I created this journal in hopes that we can capture our daily miracles. Gratitude is a powerful way to notice the miracles that are occurring in your life. You can find this journal on Amazon.com or on my website at wondersandmiracles.com and start recording your blessings and miracles today. So, Gina, thanks for being here. I'm so excited to hear your story, and go ahead and share with us all the details.
Thank you, Liza. Hi, I'm Gina. I'm from Chicago, born and raised in Chicago. So in 2018, I had just graduated college, and I had been experiencing some weird migraines, high blood pressure, just weird, not anything big or things to worry about. And so I think for me, it was just like, oh, I don't need to go see a doctor. And I was at work, and I can't remember if it's like, testing that they do every year to, reclaim your insurance. So I did the fitness testing, and my blood pressure was like through the roof, like 200 over something. And this nurse was like, that just seems really weird. You're 23 years old. What could this be? I was breathing really heavy, and my friends at work were just like, all right, sit down, relax. And then didn't really think that much of it. I went to a doctor, just a primary doctor, and she was like, oh, maybe you have PCOS, which is like something with your hormones, and put me on a different medication. I think it was birth control for that. And I'm like, oh, okay. Nothing really got better. This is another month or so. I woke up, I was asleep on the couch, and I woke up with significant pain in my left side. I'm like, this is just really odd. I didn't know. I had to drive back to my parents' house that morning. I remember just driving over the road, like the highway, like in so much pain. And I got home, and my parents were like, okay, we'll go to emergency care. No problem. We went. They were very confused. And this is only like a month after I had these horrible migraines, high blood pressure. And the doctor was like, maybe we should do a CT scan. They gave me some painkillers, to help me just kind of relax. Took the CT. The doctor came back, and he looks at me, and he's like, my mom is sitting right there too. So both of us were just not prepared for this, and looks at me and is like, I have no idea how to tell you this. Like, he's tearing up, and he's like, you have cancer. And I mean, I'm 23. I'm like, this is not what was on my radar. I did not expect this. My mom, I mean, both of us we're just in so much shock. I don't even think I cried. I did not have a reaction really. They're like, you need to go to the emergency room ASAP. So they get me in a wheelchair outside. Like at this point, I have no words. My mom, I remember, the poor woman is going about 90 miles an hour on the road just to get me to the next hospital. And I get in there in the ICU. The doctor comes in, confirms that it is a large tumor on my adrenal gland. The hardest part was probably telling my dad. My mom, I'm like, can you call him and please tell him just to come to the hospital? I don't think we should say anything over the phone. He flies there within 5 minutes, and he looked right at me and was like, it's a tumor, isn't it? And it broke me, because I'm like, I do not want my father, to see me go through this. And I still in my head, I'm like, oh, this is easy. I can beat this, no problem. Like, I didn't know the severity of it. So they take me upstairs. I think it was like the ICU where you stay overnight, and they're just kind of doing additional testing. And then the doctor comes back, and he's like, it has spread to your liver. It is all over your liver. He's like, if I were to compare it, the tumor like the size of a basketball inside your adrenal, and then now it's spread over.
Wow.
Oh, Liza, it was just a disaster. And like, my parents are right there hearing all of this. I think our first reaction was just, how do we tell people? It was really because I have such close family and friends, very, very close. And the biggest thing was they didn't know if they need to transfer me to like a Northwestern or Loyola for me to get the right kind of treatment at that time. They weren't really sure what to do. We're just going to keep you on the morphine, keep you on the drugs and everything. And those make you so loopy. I had no idea what was going on at all times. So, people are talking to me. I'm sleeping in and out. They did, a couple more tests, things like that. And then I remember my aunt and my cousin and my uncle came in, and yeah, my best friend Danielle, no one told anybody over the phone. They just said, come to the hospital because Gina might need to be transferred. And I think that, sparked like panic. My best friend walked into the hospital and she's like, this can't be right. I'm on the cancer floor. Like, did they put her on the wrong floor? Like, no way, and she came in and we're all just crying and everything. And, at that point I still was like, I got this. I got this. So I think from the beginning that really helped me just have that mindset of positivity. And I remember my dad saying, like, you got this, like, it's no problem. And I had no prior experience to cancer, like with family members or friends. So I didn't really know what to expect. So I ended up staying in that hospital for 10 days. They did not move me. And we ended up having a party in my room at the hospital. I mean, 30, 40 people at a time. Like, the other patients must have been ready to kill me. And my family, they brought a pasta spread. We had meatballs and spaghetti, and people brought stuffed animals. I mean, I remember it being fun and funny because I think people just wanted to lift my spirits, lift their own spirits. My grandparents flew in from Vegas. It was just crazy time. And then I got discharged from the hospital, and I remember they gave me fentanyl, which was horrific. And I remember a friend of mine at the time was like, do not give her that. Like, it's going to make her worse. And it did, because I was so loopy and out of it. So I was at home, and then I was told I needed to go see a specialist in University of Michigan. He's this 1 in a million adrenal specialist, because it is a 1 in a million cancer. They want you to go to the best. And I'm like, absolutely. So it was very hard to get into him. We had family friends that helped us out. So I'm very blessed for all of them. The day before I left, I remember my legs like started to swell up, like, and I mean like big, like I couldn't fit in my pants, couldn't fit in my shoes. And I'm like, this is odd. So we're starting to drive to Michigan. And I remember we called my oncologist at the other hospital, and he was like, that is not good. If you can come back to this hospital, please do. Or if you're close enough, go to the emergency room right when you get there. We did get in there, and the doctor in there was like, no, if you're in the ICU, you can't see another specialist outside of the ICU. My dad did not. I mean, we traveled all this way. I'm now in pain. Like, I can't feel anything. So I don't know, by some miracle, God, this doctor comes in. The cancer had spread like almost, I think, to like my diaphragm almost. And it was blocking the valve of my heart. So they had to put me in emergency surgery, put a stent into my, like right below my, I think it's vena cava. So there's a couple stents that will be there forever. And I remember coming out of surgery. And I'm like, I mean, and to be honest with you, I mean, it's very hard to even say this, but I think I almost kind of like saw God during that moment when I had gone out under anesthesia. And I remember like this bright light. I remember saying to myself, like, there was people holding my hands, and I'm like, I got this. I got this. Because I'm not going to go this quickly. I mean, it had been only about 2 weeks since they had told me. And all of this is coming. It was too much.
And it sounds like the cancer was growing quickly, spreading quickly, was it?
Yeah. Yeah. And when the doctor came in, he kind of just patted me on the leg and was like, best of luck to you. And like, made it seem as though I did not have any time left. Told me the chemo rates were about 7 to 9%. So that was the next step. And all of this was not supposed to happen, spreading so quickly, and we didn't know. So finally got released from Michigan Hospital. That was about 10-ish days.
I go back. I want to pull you back. So go back to when you said that moment that you feel like maybe you saw God. Like, explain that a little bit more. Did you feel like you left your body? What did you feel a message? Like, share some of that info if you feel okay with that.
Oh yeah. I mean, it definitely gets me a little choked up and emotional, because I do feel like I left my body for a certain amount of time. Now, have I ever admitted that to my family? No, because I don't want them to feel that like I was gone for a part of time, which I I think I was. Because, you always hear, oh, you see this light, you are able to kind of just feel so free. Like I had zero pain. If I had the choice, I could have said, okay, I'd let go.
Mm-hmm.
And in that moment, I can't. There was just no way. I'm 23. I'm not gonna let this happen. And that was truly I think a defining moment for me because I knew God was with me. And this is when I truly brought prayer into faith into my journey when I got discharged, because faith in God is the only thing that got me through. So, I ended up praying every single night, every morning. And that really helped me, not only in the hospital, when I was home too. So when I got home, a local church, a family friend of ours, gave us the Blessed Mother, like a statue of her. And she's still in my house. She's beautiful. She has a crown on and she's praying like this. And she has, the blue, and it's beautiful. And so we kind of would put some prayer cards in front of her and little angels that people gave us. And that was my just kind of safe space where I would pray in the morning, pray at night, pray if I had a scan coming up, pray if I had something big going on. And my mom was always there. She's a big faith believer. So we would pray together. And I think that really helped me because I didn't even start chemo yet at this point. And I'm just like, I have to give this up to God. I can be as positive as I want. I can have as much strength, but ultimately he's going to look after me. So starting chemo was for sure tough. My friends and family were there with me, nonstop. It was a pretty aggressive chemo. It was 4 different drugs over the course of 4 days. So it was the first 2 days were like maybe 3 hours. And then the 3 and 4 were like 8 hours. So, I'm like, at this point, like I didn't really get sick yet. And so I didn't really know what to expect. And because it was so aggressive, they would wait 3 weeks after you got your like full dose, and then they'll give you another one. And in that 3 weeks, I didn't realize how sick you really get. Just vomiting and, nausea all the time. I could only eat, my favorite foods were mashed potatoes and like toast. But, what can you do? I remember my family would just be over all the time. My friends would come over. Even though I said, no, I do not want company, they would not even ring the doorbell. They knew the garage code and just come in and sit with me. Looking back, that probably saved me a ton. We didn't even talk, like I couldn't really have the energy to have a full conversation. So we just would watch New Girl, watch a show. And that really helped. And early on, I remember telling my dad and asking my dad and grandma at the kitchen table. And I'm like, how do people make it? Because I'm still confused at this point. Like, what am I going through? And their response right away was, you have to pray. And, prayer and faith will get you through. And so I'm like, everybody keeps telling me this. So it must be real.
And were you a prayer before, a religious person before? So this was part of your upbringing?
Yes, very much so. I was raised Catholic and, went through confirmation. My grandfather was my confirmation sponsor. And then I will say I lost it a little bit in college. I don't know if it was just busy with everything else and being a college kid. And there wasn't really a church that I loved at school. And that was maybe part of it. And so it really came back when this happened. And maybe that was my path and what was meant to happen. I was supposed to be with God more. I ended up, someone gave me the Jesus Calling book. Are you familiar with that?
I actually have that one.
Yes,
Daily
it's my favorite. Mm-hmm. Daily devotional. So every day, I'd read a new passage. I've highlighted certain ones that I love. I think February 17th or 18th is one of my favorite days. I keep reading that. I haven't flagged. Just that worrying is inevitable, but leave it up to God and God's timing, because if we sit here and worry, is that really going to change the outcome? And it's going to make us feel worse in the end. If I'm going to sit here and worry about my PET scan or worry about, what's going to happen to me, it's not worth it in the end. I have to give that up to God. So, keep going through chemo. It was about 8 months. So very, very sick. I think I was about 80 pounds, 85 pounds. I'm like, it was not a pretty look. I was like in children's clothes. Yeah, extra, extra small. And my mom started taking me to a Friday night prayer service with other people who were just struggling at the church. And we would pray in the Adoration Chapel every Friday night. And that really helped me too. Just kind of getting to know other people who really had faith on their side and had witnessed miracles in their life, survivors of many different things, and they would tell me their stories. And that was big for me to hear these stories and say, like, if they can do it, I can do it. And, I'm still of the mindset that, there's all these people that come into your path that for a reason. And we pray with people for a reason. And there are so many people that helped me along my journey, whether it be nurses or friends or new friends or, just people at church. And after chemo, I had just gone through a lot of different treatments, radiation. There was a liver procedure, but all this time my PET scans were getting better. So I think that's where I'm just like, you have to keep pushing and it's going to get better. Just seeing that first scan, they said, hey, it's going away a little bit. So after radiation, I know that I had to live a month in Michigan because it was every day. And after that, starting to feel better, that the chemo had kind of getting out of my body a little bit, moved on to immunotherapy. So I was on that for 2 years, but I just recently got off of that, which is exciting. And then about a year ago, I also got off of the chemotherapy pills, had to take 12 a day. So that was not fun. But yeah, all in all, I'm so grateful for my friends and my family. I've progressively gotten better. My most recent scan, I think in July, there are no active cancer cells. They can't find anything. My liver is completely clear. So to say it was originally filled with cancer and my adrenal gland is like the little spot that they see that they don't think could be cancer anymore because it's just so small. They can't tell. So I'm just going to keep on trucking, and I'm truly blessed that I'm alive and get to experience, I look at sunsets differently. I look at the world differently. I try and just, if I see anyone who might be struggling, I'm initially like, I would love to help them. Because I think it's so true. You never know what people are going through. And please just try to be kind to people, because I think our world is it's so tough. And I went to church actually last week, and it's so interesting. They're like, if you could just pray on this and pray that the world may get better, maybe if we all had that mindset of just love and peace and having that faith that there will be a cure for cancer someday. There will be children who are just, everybody's feeling good and no homelessness and nothing. It's so beautiful. So I look at life so differently now, but I'm so grateful that I'm here and I can tell my story. So I just think that my family and friends, them coming to treatment with me and sitting there with me, and even up until now, like we still talk about it. And I think talking about it really helps. I'm a very introverted person. And I did not want to share. And initially I was like, we don't need to tell anybody about this. And my mom's like, I think we should.
Which I will say, there is power in group prayer and group faith. And yep. So I love that your mom knew, actually, we do need a support network for you. I would be one that would be more private too. Like, please, let's not tell people. Yeah. But I do believe in that power of group faith and prayer as well as individual faith and prayer.
Right. And I still actually keep in contact with the women from the Friday night prayer service, and they write me cards and we chat and email. And it's just really nice that I had that support group when I was going through such a rough time. And now I'm here to help someone who might be new to the group, or, they're feeling down about just about anything. So you're right. Group prayer is important.
Well, I love that this strengthened your testimony of prayer. How did it change your experience or your relationship with God specifically? Did that change at all?
Well, I think before that, I wasn't 100% always. I think I was just praying and to whomever. And in the middle of the nights when I could not sleep or I was really struggling, there are many nights where I was just up from all night long, just not really worrying, just what is happening, like why me? And that was really hard to get over. But I would just picture Jesus or God like sitting outside of my window and praying with me, and they were there with me during those dark times. And I still have those visions if I go back to my parents' house and see like the outside. Yeah, definitely a different relationship, stronger one for sure. I've been going to church regularly now, and it's been really helpful.
I love that. So you mentioned this changed your perspective on life, right? Like mm-hmm. you see it in a different way. Probably, I think anyone who faces death, that does alter how we view life, but it also sounds like your mindset, that positive mindset, that belief from the beginning that I'm going to beat this, I'm going to be okay, helped you. I just want to point that out for listeners. Like there's power in our mind and how we see things. Was that like an internal knowing, or how did that come about? Like, how did you have such a positive mindset from the beginning?
I think I've always been a pretty positive person. At least I try to be. My dad is a very positive person, and so is my mom's, and I'm an only child. So growing up with them as my best friends and someone that I confide in, they confide in me, just had that mutual, connection. And they from the start were like, you're going to beat this. Like we have to, but we will. There's really no other option. And also, I think because I was so young, still am, but I was really healthy too. And I think that was a big thing where I had taken care of my body. I ate right. I worked out a lot. I was very active. And so for this to happen to me, I'm like, there's no way. And I guess it shows cancer will attack you no matter how old you are. As sad as that is, you're kind of in that young adult bracket. There's not as many resources. For me, at least there wasn't. So I feel like I had to be positive just for myself, like because I didn't have maybe other young women that were going through what I was going through. I just had to keep that energy going. I also think my friends were really great. Like they would come and just pick me up and take me to lunch. And even if it was only 10, 15 minutes, it meant the world to me. And I'm like, I have to keep going for them. I have to keep going for my family and myself. So
yeah, it sounds like you had a very, very strong support network to help you, which is lovely. And I do think you being so young was helpful as well. The fact that you were so healthy. Did they say what caused this, or it was just kind of a random?
They don't know. It's not genetic. I've gotten tested for several different things that would have been like a gene. I have I think it's like a breast cancer, like a third.
Like the BRCA1 gene?
Something, not that. It's a different one that they thought could be maybe very odd. Yeah, 1 in a million. It still is 1 in a million. And most people, I think it's like maybe 15% make it after 5 years. So the fact that I'm like going on 6 here is like, I got this. And the drugs out there, I mean, as much as I hate them and I wish that we could have a different solution, they worked. Immunotherapy was one of the best. And it's not that harsh on my body. The immunotherapy was actually quite okay compared to the chemotherapy. So I just pray that we can have a better solution in years coming.
Yeah, I think that would be wonderful. And I myself haven't dealt with cancer, so I don't know. I'm not that familiar with the process and the medications and all of that. So many people do experience this, and it can be very, very challenging. So I think that your example, your story, the miracle of prayer getting you through it is very inspiring and a reminder for those that are struggling with cancer or any health issue. Bring prayer into your experience, because prayer can create miracles, but it can also just buoy us up, support us, make us feel like we're going to be okay. And there's power in that. So.
Oh yeah. I mean, even if it's just 5 minutes a day in the morning, like you said, you're meditating in the morning. And I think that was huge for me too. But even, just 5-10 minutes, or writing and journaling, like I'm thankful for this, or I'm grateful for, I don't know, just being alive today. That's so powerful.
Yeah. Anytime we can keep ourselves in a positive mindset, a positive outlook, there's power in that, which prayer does that. And calling on a higher power. I love that they call them, are you familiar with near-death experiences?
Yep.
So they call that when people have, an out of body, or they leave their body for a moment and are kind of touched by that, by divine people, being, source. That alone also, I believe, brings in some healing to our physical bodies. It's possible that helped make your scans better and bring in some of that healing energy, if you will, to your experience. So
every time I was in like the PET scan machine, I was like thinking of everything, like all the positive vibes, all like the ocean and the trees and what God has created. And that is what, I just like mantras of just positive. Because if you're negative, there's no way. You also, I think it just drains you mentally and physically too. So worrying is, I've learned.
I love that. There's, it's reminding me of a YouTube video, and I've actually read his book, Dr. Bruce Lipton. He talks about, it's called The Biology of Belief. And he talks about the different chemistry that's happening in our body when we're in love and joy and peace and light versus in fear. And when we're in fear, our body functions shut down, they contract. And so it actually does cause a chemical response in the body, feeling that positive versus the negative emotions for our healing and well-being. His whole book is all about how to keep your DNA and body healthy through our mind, through our belief system. So it's pretty powerful, but
I will have to check that out. I have been recommended so many books.
I'm sure you have.
But only some have really sat with me.
Yeah.
And Jesus Calling for one.
Yes.
There was another one, like a 365 devotional too, that I can share with you. It was awesome. So I still read them. No, I think that's the biggest thing that I've learned from this is you can't just leave God in the corner for a couple weeks and then come back. It has to be an everyday sort of thing. And if you're not praying on a consistent basis, then are you just praying when there is an emergency or there is something that you really do need? And have like keeping that relationship is at least a reminder for me that he is with me. And, if I am just praying for thankfulness, like he's there to listen. So
amen. I love that. That's what I was going to say. I love the daily practice and the daily reminder. God is with us. He's aware of us. He knows what's going on in our lives. And I think we do it's like building muscles. You can't go to the gym one time and think, oh, I'm perfectly strong, I never have to do that again. You need that daily exercise, and our spirits need that too. And so I totally agree. So, well, Gina, this is an amazing miracle story. I'm very happy for you that you have no active cancer cells. Do they continue to check you? I'm sure.
Every about 3 to 6 months, but the last year has been pretty solid and nothing has come up. So we're going to continue on that path and keep up the kicking butt over there.
Good job. Congratulations. I love it. Anything else you want to share before we end?
No, just thank you so much for your time and thank you for listening. It's pretty cool this is the first time that I've actually let my story out and for people to hear. I really appreciate this. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having the courage to share. And I know your story will inspire others and help others if they're going through the same thing. And just a reminder that include God in our journeys and include that prayer. So thank you for that message.
Thank you so much.
All right, there's our episode for this week. I want to thank Gina for reaching out to me to share her miracle story. Truly an amazing miracle. And the fact that it was a 10% survival rate, a 1 in a million type of cancer. And 6 years later, she is alive and well and thriving, truly is a miracle and a testament to the power of prayer and God in our lives. And I'm grateful for her willingness to share in hopes that it can encourage even just one person, but I'm sure it will encourage many who are going through health struggles, that there is healing, there is hope, there are miracles happening every day. And she's an example of that. So Gina, thank you very much for sharing your story and your witness of God's miracles today. Gina mentioned her daily devotionals, her daily prayer. And I think there is such power in a daily spiritual practice. I meditate every morning. I write in my journal every morning. I have a very strong spiritual practice. And I think it's so important. So I would like to invite you, if you have not gotten my journal, The Blessings I Witnessed Today, grab a copy for yourself. I know Christmas is coming up. Grab a copy for family members, friends, but start recording your blessings and miracles every day. This journal has Bible verses that you can read every day and ponder and think and reflect on the ways that God is blessing our lives. And you can get that at Amazon.com or on my website at wondersandmiracles.com and start recording those miracles and blessings that you see in your life each day. I know they're there. When you look for them, you can find them. Because the more miracles we notice, the more miracles happen. Have a blessed day.